and in color. We got color. It's 2021. There's color happening. Back in the day, we would have been black and white. Actually, matter of fact, we couldn't even have broadcasted from the house because we wouldn't have had these video cameras. We wouldn't have had phones. It would have been crazy. I can't imagine selling insurance in 1992, what that had to be like. Like, you know what I mean? Like MapQuest didn't even exist. You had to pull out an atlas, which is like, in case you didn't know, that's like a book of maps to figure out where you were going to go for the day. Like, could you imagine that? Like, we got so much crazy technology at our fingertips. It's absolutely outrageous. And I feel like we've got all this technology, we've got all these tools, but like, how are you using them to be successful, right? Like, how are you using the tools to be successful? And I get really excited today because last week, we talked about final expense. We talked about the in-home. We talked about what to do. We had a great guest. If you didn't see the call, you should go back and listen to it. But today we're going to talk about like what happens once you finish the application. Like, what is the next tool? What is the next move? What do you do? Like, what's something that you can do after you finish the application to be even more profitable, not just for yourself, but for your clients? Like, how do you help your clients win on a bigger level? And then how does that help you at the same time? Because here's what I know: if it's good for you and if it's good for the client, then it's good for everybody, right? And so if we can provide more value and more service for our clients where at the same time it's advantageous to us, like, woo, that's what I'm talking about. And I got nobody better on the call today to talk about this than the great Sydney Balik. And Sydney, I just want to say thank you for being on the call because you're amazing. Like, I love your training on this. I don't think there's anybody that does it like you. Like, you do a great job at going over, the emergency contacts and how that helps the client. And I don't want to take any more of your time. I just want to say thank you for being on the call. And I want to preface it with this before you talk, because I know you got a lot to tell them. I just want to tell the people that are listening that Sydney has written over $100,000 in business simply on referrals. Okay, by like just herself selling insurance. You know, she's taught hundreds and actually I would say thousands of agents at this point in time. She's taught how to do this system. They've copied her. They've been successful at it. So like, if you were wondering, like, is she qualified? Yes, she's done it. She's taught it. She's had people that have learned it and done it and taught it. So kind of like get your notepad out. If you don't have it out yet, have your recorders out, have everything ready to listen, and just kind of listen to what she's saying, because this information could make you an extra $100,000, in the next 6 to 12 months at no expense to you. So meaning like all you got to do is use the tool. It don't cost you anything and it's free. Actually, scratch that. You got to write some things down on a piece of paper. So you're going to have to write some things down. So it's going to cost you ink and it's going to cost you paper, unless you have an iPad and you can write on that. And then it's going to cost you electricity to charge your iPad. But other than that, that's pretty much free. That's as close to free as you can get. But the information is derived from hours and hours and hours of training. Like, she didn't get this at one moment, but what she did, and maybe you could talk about this, Sydney, is what she did is she recorded it, she listened to it, she wrote it down, she trained on it, she said it a bunch of times, and she got good at it, and now she's going to give that to you. So without further ado, Sydney Balik, remember, we're going from we just wrapped up we just got an application. So bring them in from there, however you want to do it. I'm going to let you talk.
Ooh, I appreciate it. Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on today. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, if you guys have not heard last week's final expense call with Dustin Craig, oh my God, it's like a must listen to for every single agent. So he took us to the point of making the sale, and I'm going to pick up perfectly right where he left off on where to go from there. Okay. So, if you don't know by now, we use something called the emergency contact list as a way to get referrals, but also as a service to the client. So I'm going to go in. We have different scripts we can send you. We have it typed out. We have little voice recording clips of the script. So don't freak out if you don't catch the whole script right now. But I'm just going to kind of go through it with you guys so you kind of know how it sounds, because I think one of the biggest reasons people don't get referrals is they think it's hard, or they think maybe it's like weird or awkward, or they don't know how to ask. So I'm going to eliminate all that like fear and doubt for you, because you're going to see by the end of this call that it's actually way easier to get referrals than it is to sell leads. Okay. You might not believe me yet, but hopefully by the end of the call, you will. So we have this form. It's a real form. We did not make it up. You can find it on our website. So if you log into my LPFN, go to training, other resources, other helpful resources, and it's there as the emergency contact system. I would literally print it out and have like 20 of them with you. So some of my agents, because they apparently forget to get referrals, I make them staple it to the back of their applications. So like this is part of the process. Okay. It's like a non-negotiable. So you just help the family, you filled out application, you're really excited, but don't get too excited that you forget to do this step. Okay. We're not done yet. So when you get to the end of the application, you say, okay, Mary, now the last thing we have to do is something called your emergency contact list. Okay. I don't know if you know this, but there's actually billions of dollars of unclaimed life insurance money. And it's not because the companies don't want to pay out, but it's because they simply didn't know that somebody died unless someone calls and tells them, right? So what we do is we put a list together of your local, at least 10 local friends and family who would know if something happened to you. I'm going to give them a call and I'm going to give them my name, my phone number, all my information. So God forbid the day comes that something happens to you, they can give me a call and I can make sure the money gets paid out for your family as quickly as possible. Okay. Okay. Who would be first on that list? And you put your head down. Now this is a game. Okay. Whoever lifts their head up first loses every single time. Okay. And what I mean is you're going to have the form physically in front of you, or like I have an iPad so I can write on my iPad, however you want to have it, but physically have the form. And put your head down. The reason why is because now you look busy and now you look like you're filling something else. So your client, you'll see them do like a little scramble. They'll be like, okay, let me get my phone. Every time they pick up their phone and they start, I'm like, let's go through your contacts, right? Now, here's what's super common. What's super common is that agents get like 3 or 4 referrals. Yay, you got referrals. But I'm going to get you to 10. Okay. This is how. So when you put your head down, your clients are going to, off the top of their head, like easily think of about 3 or 4 people that they talk to, right? Sister, mom, whoever. You're going to have to coach them through the rest. So this is why your rapport is so important in the beginning, that, you know, how Dustin explained doing rapport with your client, because that's where you're going to find out who they're close to, who they care about, who they speak to a lot, where their circles of influence are. If they're a pastor and they talk about their church, oh, what about some of your church members or your fellow, you know, whatever they're called, like whoever it is. What about your neighbor? What about your grandkids? What about who you go to work with and you see every single day? Like, who are the people that if something happened to you today, these people would notice? That's who we want on this list. Okay, so you keep your head down, and you literally keep your head down until you, I mean, if you can pass 10, pass 10. The most I've ever gotten is 40. That was crazy. And that lady told me she didn't know even 10 people. She was like, 10. She's like, I don't think I know 10 people. I was like, yeah, let's try, whatever. And my head was down. I literally filled out 2 of those forms. So keep your head down. The first one that keeps your head up, what happens when you lift up your head and they lift up their head, then they're like, that's it. And you're like, oh, shoot, I just lost right there. Like, that's when you lose. So keep your head down. Again, you're going to have to coach them through it. And just like to show you, there's a client that I had, and I've talked about this before, but I had a client who had a wall of pictures on her, a wall of photos on her wall, whatever. She had a wall of photos. Why is that so confusing? She had like 100 pictures of like all her family members. And right behind the table we were sitting at was a little table, and it was all pictures of the same girl. I was like, okay, that's a little weird. So I was like, is that your favorite granddaughter? She was, yeah, telling me how proud she was and blah, blah. And we're doing the emergency contact system and we're on number 8. And she's like, I can't think of anyone else. And the granddaughter's not on there. I was like, well, what about your favorite granddaughter? She's like, oh, yeah, put her too. So just goes to show you, you just have to help people jog their memory a little bit, right? Okay, so you get 10. Now, does it work 100% of the time? No, but I have it saved on my iPad, and I could scroll through and show you 95 to 98% of the time I have 10 referrals. So am I going to claim it's perfect? No, but if you follow the script, you will get at least close to 10 referrals, if not 10 referrals every single time. So people will come to me and they're like, oh, I said exactly what you say, but I didn't get them. I'm like, okay, tell me what you said. And it's not the script. So just follow the script, because like, it's a culmination. Like, I didn't make it up. Actually, funny enough, Paul, you taught me how to do referrals from in the beginning. And then it kind of evolved from there. And I learned from a few other people, and we came up with the script we have now. So, I'm not saying everything's perfect, but we have a lot of experience gone into these scripts. So if you just simply save a script, you won't have any issues. Now, you might have noticed towards the end of the script, I said, I'm going to give them a call and give them my name and my phone number, so that God forbid something happens to you, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that, the money gets paid out for your family. I'm not shy about the fact that I'm going to call these people. So that's the other common mistake that I see. Maybe you got the referrals, but you weren't clear enough with the client that you were going to give them a call. I'm not shy about it. I want them to know that I'm going to call, and I want them to be okay with the fact that I'm going to call. So here's how you get permission to speak to all the people, right? So you got your 10 people. Okay, is this everybody you can think of? Yeah, okay. If you think of someone else, we can add more later. Okay, they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Now, out of these 10 people here, how many of them do you think could benefit from the information I gave you? Probably all of them, right? And they're like, yeah, probably. Or they'll be like, yeah, don't call Uncle Billy. He's kind of crazy. My sister probably has insurance through her job. Like, they'll start pointing out people, like, maybe don't call them. First of all, people don't know what people have for insurance, right? So every time they say that they have insurance or something, I'm like, you guys just have this conversation over dinner? Like, so first of all, they don't know nothing about nothing. So I just agree with them, right? You want to not make them feel bad. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Well, it couldn't hurt to ask all of them, could it? And you shake your head no. So body language plays a big part in what I'm doing. My head is down when I'm asking for them. When I'm saying how many of these people could benefit from the information I gave you, probably all of them, right? I'm nodding, so they start nodding. And then when they try and, nitpick and, and then I have to say, couldn't hurt to ask, right? I'm shaking my head no. And they start shaking their head no too. So a lot of what's physically happening is extremely important in getting these referrals as well. So after they say, no, it couldn't hurt to talk to all of them, you've now gotten 100% permission to speak to every single person on this list. Why is this important? Because when I was new, I didn't know how to do that so good. And if I called a client, like a sister of my client or something, they'd be like, why are you calling me? Whatever, I'm going to call my sister. So then they call a sister, and I get a call from my client, like, why are you calling? You didn't tell me you were going to call these people. Like, I don't want to lose my client, to be clear. So it's super important that you don't hide the fact that you're going to call them. And this is a positive thing for them. Like, if they really like you and they really like the job you did, why would they have an issue with you talking to the people they care about? So yeah, as far as physically asking for them in the home, that's pretty much how I do it. I keep it really simple, really friendly, and mandatory. Like, I'm not telling them, hey, do you want to set this up? Or, hey, do you think we can do this? No, the last thing we have to do is the emergency contact list. Another big mistake.
I got to add something, because I'm sitting over here going, oh my gosh, this is good stuff. I feel like a lot of it is it's the conviction that you have when you're doing it, right? So it's not like I've heard people say, our company provides a service. No, this is not what it is. It's one more thing we have to do is set up your emergency contact system. It's just part of the process. It's like when I started just explaining to people, like, one more thing we have to do is set up our emergency contact system. and what that is. And then there's a story, there's over $2 billion of unclaimed insurance out there. And we just want to make sure that it doesn't happen to you, right? And so like people will just give you the names and numbers. The only reason they wouldn't give you the name and the number is if you're not convicted about what you're doing. So like when it comes into the sale, like the whole way through, from the time you pull in the driveway to the time you leave that house, you have to be convicted that what you're doing is a good thing and that you're doing the right thing by the client, right? If you use this just as a referral piece, like you're going to feel like you're doing something wrong, right? So like you got to understand that this is a service, right? Like meaning like, I don't know if you've had this happen to you, Sydney, but I've had people die and someone on the emergency contact system calls me to tell me that someone died. And like, I know it's a service because I gave them my information for that purpose. And they called me, you know what I mean? So if we put it as the service first and the referrals second, the referrals come just because of it. Because if you would do your job for free, you'll make more money. The reason some people sell more is they're willing to do above and beyond, and that's why they get paid more money, right? So I just got really excited, Sydney. I was trying to let you go, but I was like, that conviction of one more thing we have to do, like you're convicted, like that's just part of what we do. It's not a question of what we do. It's just part of what we do. So I just want to give it back to you. And I just had to put that in there.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's the conviction. And it also goes back to sticking to the script, because a lot of times people are like, yeah, I explained to them that this is if something happens to them, but they leave out the story and the piece of like all the money that goes unclaimed. And that's the selling point. Like people don't understand when people tell me, oh, they didn't want to give me any names. I'm like, okay, you clearly just didn't do the script, because if you tell them, this is for your family, this is so that this thing you're going to pay for your whole life actually pays out, they're like, that's just weird. That doesn't sound right to me that someone wouldn't be okay with that, right? Like, why would they just be like, no, I'm gonna risk it. Like, they're paying for this thing every month. So yeah, it's literally simply a matter of following the script, just like everything else that we teach in-home presentation. Like everything is set up in a specific order so that you don't get kickback. So if you're getting kickback, I promise you just need to go back to the script and follow it a little bit more closely. Like I said, if you're someone who forgets or whatever, I literally staple it to the back of the application. And it's good because when people see a physical form, it's legitimate to them. Now, let me tell you this. There was a lot of times in the beginning for a while where I literally did this on a blank piece of paper. I would number it 1 through 10 and just write the list. And they don't give a dang. I mean, just get it done. However you have to get done. If you forgot the form, it's not an excuse not to get them. Just get a piece of paper because they don't know the difference anyways, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. But like Paul was saying, if you're not getting referrals, I personally truly believe that you're doing the biggest disservice to yourself and to your clients. I have, a quick story. I have an example. This guy, I was calling orphan current clients. So these are some other agent's client that left the company. So I was following with the client, servicing them, making sure everything was good, stuff like that. I call this guy Dante, I'll never forget. And him and his wife were listed as policyholders. So I called him and asked about it. I was like, hey, I see you and your wife have this policy. And he said, my wife passed away 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, do you mind if I ask you if the policy paid out? Because I like to know. I like to have stories and things in my pocket. And, I get excited when what we do actually works and pays out, right? So I was like, let me ask you, did the policy ever pay out? He's like, no, I'm still paying for it every month. And I was like right now you're paying for it. He's like, yeah, they just took the money out. I was like, okay. So I was just confused. I couldn't compute what was happening. So I was like, well, you can collect on that money from the policy. And he's like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. Like I've never had somebody pass away before. So I just kept paying it, figuring one day something's going to happen. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So we called, and this lady had 2 insurance policies with 2 different companies, both still active, Paul, 2 years after she passed. Crazy. 2 years after she passed, and I was able to help this guy get $50,000. Boom! Oh my God. When he found this out, so he's been struggling like this whole time. Now a single dad. He has like 5 or 6 little kids under 18. He was like beside himself. He's like, this is such a blessing. This is going to help me so much take care of my kids. Like, I've been struggling because he can't work 100% because, you know, who's going to watch the kids? But if the agent at the beginning had signed up the emergency contact list for him, he would have had somebody to call, or somebody else in his family would have called when the wife passed away. And it took 2 years. And what if I never called this guy? Who knows if he ever would have got the money. So he got the policy money, plus he got all the premiums he's paid in over the past 2 years because she wasn't here. I mean, it's crazy. So this is a real thing, guys. Like, these kind of situations happen all the time where people don't know there's a policy, or they just cancel and let it lapse because they're like, why am I going to keep paying for this? They don't know to do a claim. Like, they need our help. So this is massive for your clients. Like, it's super important, super necessary. And how grateful to me is he now, after I just got him $50,000 that he didn't know he could get or know even how to start to get. You would think people, it's funny, Paul, because I've been like, I mean, these people don't look at their statement and think, let me call this company. Like, people just don't know what to do. We think they know what to do and they don't. So that's one of my craziest stories about the referrals. Do you have something to add to that, Paul?
I just like, it blows my mind, right? Because I'm sitting here going like, you would think that somebody in their family would go, does she have any life insurance? You would think somebody in the family would be like, hey, can I help you with the paperwork? But like, if we don't sit down and help these people, nobody's going to 99% of the time. Like, I didn't know what to do before I started doing it, right? Like, I didn't know, like I didn't know, right? And so I think about these clients and I'm going, dang, like if you didn't call him, who would have known? And I kind of want to back up to the part where you're like, well, we need 10, right? Why do we need 10? Because you know someone's going to say, well, why do you need 10? Well, I had a client in 2013 that I helped, and I got 2 because I was new. And I was like, I got two, right? Well, he died. The only reason I knew he died, Sydney, is we got something from Forster's. It said account closed, deceased. It took me 8 months to track the family down because neither one of the phone numbers worked, to let them know they had a death benefit. They would have never claimed it. They lived in Louisiana from Virginia. Like, I don't even know, like it was a process to find those people. But like, I just think about that and like, it's like, is this a service or is this a referral thing? It's a service first, and then we use it for referrals. Why? Because they just gave you a list of names. Now you have the list, and now you just need to get permission to call and talk to them, right? And so when you do it from the service mindset and you just know, like I was talking with someone the other day, like they're like, how'd you get into insurance? I was like, I don't know how I ended up here. Like, I answered an ad, right? Well, like, do I feel good about what I do on a daily basis? Like, yeah, I do. I feel good about it. Like, I don't like, I feel like to say that you're an insurance agent, like that sits down and helps people with this kind of stuff, like their family doesn't even help them with this stuff. Like, this is the most important thing. Like, you know, somebody dies, now what? Like, we help with that, right? And so, and then as you get good and you get better, you start helping with retirement, you start helping with kids programs, like you become this full service financial advocate for your clients. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that you called a current client out of the blue and you did that. And who's to think, like, we have these clients and I have them all the time where I'm like, hey, like, what other insurance companies are you paying money to? Like, and we'll find out. And then I have clients that have paid up policies. There's no way they're ever going to find them if they don't call me. Like, you know, there's no way they'll find them. Right. And so it's just stuff like that I get excited. Like, here, stories like that get me re-excited about everything.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, like if you have been in the business for any length of time, sold any policies and not done this for your clients, you need to go back and do it, because you easily could be the agent that didn't set it up, and you could be like, your client could be Dante, that they don't know what to do. They don't know who to call. maybe you get out of the business, like whatever happens, right? Life happens, and you need to have this set up for your clients. So the easiest, simplest thing, first of all, they're your client. So you should have a good enough relationship to them that they let you go over for just about anything, right? So the easiest thing to do is, like, if you haven't seen them in a while, be like, hey, I want to come by you and see you, catch up, make sure everything looks good. Or you can say like, hey, I forgot to do something the first time I was over there. What time can I come by tomorrow? Anything, just go back and set it up the same exact way. It doesn't have to only be from now forward, but a lot of agents who come to us with a book of business already, that's a lot of how we get them started, because they have all these clients that they never went back to. And if you have 10, if you only have, no, I don't want to say only, but if you have 10 clients and you get 10 referrals from each of them, how many new referrals is that? How many new leads is that going to be for you to go ahead and call? The trust is built in already. It doesn't cost you a thing to get started. I mean, and again, they're your clients. If you really want to do a full service job, you need to go back and do this for them. Going along with that, everyone's texting. You guys are so nice. Thank you for hyping me up right now. Everyone's texting. But something I want to say, everyone wants to know what's in it for them, right? This is really cool for the clients, and it makes me feel good that I was able to do this. But at the same time, what's in it for you? I know you want to know what's in it for you, right? You're planting seeds for your future insurance business as well, okay? I have another guy, his name was Davidson. He was 28 when I met him like 2 years ago, and young, healthy, fit, making almost 6 figures. Like, he was, doing his thing, no wife, no kids. I believe he was actually a referral, which is how I even got in the house, because someone like this is so crazy, Paul. Someone like this guy is not going to fill out a lead because he thinks that he's too young, healthy, and has no family. Why does he need this? And that's what he told me in the appointment. He said, I don't have kids, like, I'm doing fine. Like, why do I need this? So I sold him, he had like these I think it was like 2 nieces and a nephew that these were like the only people that he cared about, right? This was like, he's like, if I do anything, I'm leaving it to them, because they're like 2 twins that are 5 and then a 7-year-old or something like that. So I'm like, okay, so, I talked to him about Foresters. Here's the benefits, the scholarship opportunities, all that stuff. Plus it has living benefits. So I was like, you're young, but God forbid you get sick or something, you can have access to some money. It took a little bit of convincing, but I was able to get him to get the policy. And I messed around with him. It was like a $56 a month policy. I was like, you're making $100,000. What do you care about $56? Like, I literally said that to him. It's true. I'm like, what do you care? Like, just get it. You never know. Oh, okay. So he gets it, right? The next day he calls me. He's like, oh, I was talking to my brother and he says I'm young. Why do I need this? And I don't think I want to keep it. I don't want to keep it. So I was like, okay, let me come back over there and we'll do some cancellation forms or whatever. Right. So I just get back in the house and I tell him again, I'm like, this is for your nieces and your nephews. It was like a $300,000 policy. Each of them would get $100,000 if something happened to him. I'm like, again, it has really good benefits. One time Foresters gave us tickets to the Heat game. I was like, you like sports, right? I'm just selling him on keeping it. Okay, fine, I'll keep it. 2 years passed. So this was like late last year. Guess who gives me a call letting me know that Davidson was in another state and got into a motorcycle accident and died? The brother. It was the brother. So because I set up the emergency contact list, the brother called me and he said to me, he's like, I want to thank you because I remember 2 years ago when you came and sold him the policy and I told him not to keep it. And he's like, I didn't know, but I guess you convinced him to keep it. And thank you so much, because his kids are going to get $100,000 each. And he was like, because he was young too. He was like, my client was like 30 when he passed. So the brother was like 35 or 40. He's like, I told him he didn't need it and that we're young and we don't need life insurance because we're so young and nothing's going to happen to us. But he's like, Thank you so much. And when we're done figuring all this out, I need you to give me insurance too. And I sold him, his girlfriend, and his kids all a policy after the death claim paid out.
You just went into another topic, right? Because you just went from helping someone out with the emergency contacts, right? And you went from that to like, hey, what do you do when your client calls to cancel, right? Like, what do you do, right? And you covered that, and you kind of breezed over it, but you said, yeah, no problem. I'll come over and do the paperwork. What's your schedule? Like, you booked an appointment to go back out there. And then you fought for the reason that he needed the insurance, because you believed in your heart that he needed to have some insurance, right? And you could do it because you believe they need the insurance, or you believe you want to keep the commission. I don't care why you fight for it, but it's your job. It was a little bit of both, right? Like, no, you're keeping this policy, right? But the guy didn't have any insurance, right? And a young person doesn't think they're going to die. But I just talked to a client today that buried his 24-year-old grandson, right? And so like, you just don't know. Like, it's our job to believe in what we do and believe that people do need life insurance. Why? Because I stopped counting 100 death claims over 3 years ago personally, right? And I've had probably 100 more since then. And so like, it's just like, it's that conviction of no matter what, go back over there and talk to him again. No matter what, like, you set up the emergency contact, right? And the brother apologized for saying, or thanked you, or a little bit of both, for trying to get him to cancel. And you, instead of just saying, okay, yeah, I'll cancel it for you, no problem, you said, all right, I'll just come over there and do the paperwork. And you put yourself out there again. You could have got rejected. I'm sure you've gone back for a cancellation and they've rejected you and still canceled. But that one made a difference. You know what I mean? Like, that one, those kids, like, think about those kids, and I start thinking about $100,000 a year in compound interest and what that's going to do for them. Maybe their college is paid for now. Maybe it's for a first house, or maybe they put it somewhere and it funds their entire retirement. Like, think about that. If you had $100,000 sitting for a kid for 50 years, it could fund their entire retirement with compound interest, right? And so it's just crazy to think about how that little bit of extra effort, like the little bit of, hey, like, I'm not going to be too much involved in myself to not put myself out there, right? Like, because it'd be easy for you to be like, damn it, another one canceled. I'm not, okay, like, let me try to sell another person. But you just went back out to that house. And it just gets me excited when we stick to the basics, because that's the basic, right? That is a basic, is go to the house no matter what, right? Like, that's a basic. That's not like we didn't come up with that. It's just, I've always been told, just go back out to the house. And if you do it, it works. So anyway, continue upon your stories.
It's generational changes, seriously, because the only reason Davidson, my original client, sat down with me was because a friend of his referred me to him, and they said, yeah, sit down with her. So even though he didn't really care about it, the only reason he let me in the house was because his friend said, yeah, you need to talk to this girl. But he was not the type of person who was going to fill out a lead. Like, how else would I have reached this family if it weren't for referrals, right? And then his brother wouldn't have gotten the coverage because he didn't believe it in either. You see what I'm saying? And now the kids have all this money. Like, that family, the brother, like, they're not wealthy. Like, their policies they got with me, thankfully they got something, but they were small. They were like, I don't know, $18-20 a month, like a very minimal policy, because they're not super well off. So to have their kids each have $100,000, that's like a life-changing, like a generational change for this family. And now when they come across people, they have people call me too about getting insurance. So it just completely changed the track that this family's lives were on, right? And you couldn't reach these people through a lead. So I don't know, I get excited. To me, these are way more exciting than, like, leads are cool, but the problem is people forget that it's a lead because it's to lead you into their warm market. We're not meant to get a lead and sell it and then move on to the next lead and that's it. You guys know how much work it takes to sell a lead. You have to call. First of all, you have to make the calls, which is a pain in the butt in itself. Then you have to get them to book an appointment with you. You go through all the rejection of the people who hang up on you and say no and all that. You finally get the appointment. You get them to show up. You sit there, you make them trust you, this stranger that you're meeting for the first time, you get them to give them everything about them. Like, this is a lot of work that goes into a sale, right? You finally make the sale, and then you freaking people don't get referrals, and you go start over somewhere else. Why? That hurts me so much. Like, you create that work and that whole system over and over again, but you have someone who trusts you. Let's get the people that they know, and you have automatic trust built in with their friends and family. You don't have to do all the crazy extra work, because the moment you say, I just sat down with your friend, your sister, and helped her out with some insurance, and then you say you need to come over there, they're like, okay, yeah, my sister, so I'm good. There's a whole script for when you call the referrals, but I'm not even worried about that. I just want you guys to get the referrals and understand why this is so important. Please stop wasting your energy. Like, it's so much work to go from person to person, rebuilding the trust, putting all that effort. Like, why? The people who they know are A++ leads, okay? And they're free. They're free. You know how much people, if you could pay for a referral, I think it would at least be $100 lead. Like, a referral is like a for sure sale. You just have to not screw it up. Like, seriously. So what Justin likes to say, do you like easy and free or expensive and difficult? Easy and free is the referrals. Expensive and difficult is the leads. It takes a skill set. But once you've gotten one sale, the rest of the sales can come so easy, because it takes the skill set out of it, because people buy when they like and trust you. Well, if you're good enough for their friends and their family, you're good enough for them. And you might not be the best insurance agent out there, but because their mama got a policy from you, they're going to get a policy from you. Our team, this is mandatory. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple numbers, because this is crazy. All right, so the average lead investment that people spend is about 18, really closer to 20% of their income. So on average, you should be spending, about 20% to make the income that you're making. So two things. One is Justin and I have not taken a single lead since January 2018. Why? Because I'm diligent about referrals. It's a non-negotiable to get them, not only to get them, but also to call them. Okay. So it doesn't mean I don't believe in leads, but it means that I've disciplined myself so much, and I believe in referrals so much, and they're so much easier. People are like, oh my God, how do you do this? How do you, earn these trips? Because I do it the easier way. Like, I don't do it the harder way. I actually do it the easier way. Okay. So last year, our total lead investment, okay, not for us because we buy leads for our team and stuff. Our total lead investment last year was 2.8% of our income for the year. 2.8% for our entire team. What does this tell you? Our team is very good about getting referrals, and we're very profitable. So now we have this extra, everyone's spending 20%, we can spend 2.8. So now this isn't money that just sits around, but now we can buy, more leads for our agents. We can pay for their courses. We buy their, fingerprints, background checks. Like, it's not that we're not investing it, but you get to invest that money elsewhere now because you and your team have become profitable. Guys, I'm telling you, this is massive. And I don't even have really much else to say, but Paul, thank you for teaching me referrals in the beginning, because to be able to make multiple six-figure income, investing 2.8% in leads is insane.
Yeah, and all I was doing was teaching what was taught to me. And I feel like that's our duty, right? Our duty is to learn it, get good at it, and then pass it on, right? Because the information that you have is only as good as how many people know it as well, right? And how many people are executing it. And so, and I want to go back to say this is like what Sydney's talking about is building yourself into profitability, right? Does it take leads to get your business started? Yes, it is an amplifier. Should that be the only thing you do? No, you're crazy if you don't get if you don't get referrals, right? Right? It's like you need more names and numbers and people to call, right? There's two ways to get them. Get leads, get referrals, or knock on doors. Three ways. Sorry, there's three ways. You can do any of them, right? So it's like, how do you get more people to call? This is a surefire way that will make you more money. It's going to solidify your business. And then it's going to be like you get invited over to see a client and you know their whole family, right? Like if I help somebody with insurance and now their brother, their sister, their cousin, and their other cousin have insurance with me, what's the likelihood of them canceling? Not very high. Why? Because they done talk them other people into it too, right? And so you're locking in your business, you're solidifying it. And honestly, like I'm excited when another agent sits down with a client and I sit down behind them because I'm going to set up the emergency contacts, right? I'm going to put up the additional sales. Like I'm going to become the agent they want to do business with. So I appreciate you taking the time today, Sydney. I know that everybody on the call was like, well, what do you say when you get them? What do you say when you get them? We're going to go over scripts next week. So next week on the call, we're going to go over scripts. We're not going to just do referral scripts. We're going to do mortgage protection. We're going to do final expense. We're going to do referrals. We're going to take some time to sit down and go through how do I call people? How do I get good at it? And how do I get better all the time? And so if you're excited about that, get on the call next week, get some more people on the call, record it. Writing down notes, even when you know stuff, write it down again and again and again until you start training on it and you train on it. And when you start teaching it, it becomes a part of who you are. So thank you again, Sydney, for taking the time. I really, really, really do appreciate it. You're awesome at training on this stuff. And we will see you guys tomorrow on the Wednesday vision call where we're going to get our vision straight, you know, because like everyone's got to have glasses or contacts or you just have good vision, but we're going to talk about what's been happening and what's going to be happening. And we're excited to talk to you guys more tomorrow. See you guys. Talk to you later.